Have you ever had that little nagging thought, what's actually going on behind my walls? Well, in this explainer, we're going to take that uncertainty and turn it into empowerment. We're going to walk through everything you need to know about mold so you can feel totally confident that you're protecting your home and, more importantly, your family's health. You know, it's a question pretty much every homeowner asks themselves, especially after a big storm or, a tiny little leak. The thing is, what you can't see can often be the biggest problem. And it doesn't just affect your house, it can affect your well-being. And for a lot of us, especially if you live somewhere warm and humid, the answer to that question is mold. Now, mold is a natural part of the environment, totally normal, but it becomes a whole different story when it decides to move in and become your unwanted roommate. So what really creates this perfect storm for mold? It's actually a super simple recipe. All you need is a little warmth and a little humidity. And if your home has plenty of both, well, you've got the ideal conditions for some hidden trouble to start brewing. And here is the really tricky part. The problem almost never starts where you can actually see it. All that moisture creates the perfect little nursery for mold in the places you'd never think to look. Inside your walls, deep inside your air conditioning system, or tucked away in a dark corner of the attic. And listen, this is not just some ugly spot on the wall. Mold releases spores into the air that can have a very real impact on your health. We're talking about things that can make asthma and allergies so much worse, cause a cough that just won't quit, or even lead to mysterious headaches and fatigue. This is exactly why you've got to be proactive. Okay, so how in the world can you tell if you have a problem you can't even see? The good news is your house usually gives you little hints. You just need to know what to look for and, maybe more importantly, what to smell for. So let's talk red flags. Think about it. Do you notice a musty, kind of damp smell, especially right after the AC kicks on? Or maybe your allergies go crazy the second you walk on the door, but you feel fine when you leave? And definitely keep an eye out for bubbling paint or condensation on your windows. Any of those, especially if you know you've had water issues in the past, are huge signs. All right, you've spotted a few red flags, and you've made the call to a professional. So what happens now? It might sound like this big, complicated thing, but it's really just a clear, step-by-step process designed to get you some solid answers. A real deal inspection basically follows 5 core steps. First, the inspector is going to talk to you. They want to know about any leaks, weird smells, or health stuff you've noticed. Then, they do a full-on visual investigation. After that, they'll pull out these cool moisture meters to find hidden wet spots. And if they think it's necessary, they'll take some samples for lab testing. And finally, you get a detailed written report with everything they found and exactly what they recommend you do next. Okay, so now you've got this report in your hands, and it's filled with scientific names and numbers. What does any of it actually mean? This part is all about cracking the code on those results so you can make a smart, informed decision. This is a big one. People ask this all the time. Do I really need to pay extra for lab tests? And the short answer is, nope, not always. Testing is a really powerful tool, for sure, but it's most valuable in a few very specific situations. So when does it make sense to test? Well, it becomes super valuable if people in the house are having major health issues. It's also critical if you need hard evidence for an insurance claim or a real estate deal. And of course, you'll want to test if you suspect the infamous black mold, or if you just want to double-check that a previous cleanup job was actually successful. So when they do an air test, think of it like this. The lab is basically comparing a picture of the air inside your home to a picture of the air right outside your front door. The inside air should look pretty much the same as the outside air. But if your indoor sample has way more spores or different types of mold, well, that's a pretty big clue that you've got a little mold factory running somewhere inside. And now, let's talk about the one that everybody worries about, black mold, or its scientific name, Stachybotrys. It gets a really bad rap because it can produce these harmful things called mycotoxins. But here's the absolute most important thing to remember. Not every dark-colored mold is that black mold, and you absolutely 100% cannot tell just by looking at it. That's why professional testing is so key. And this right here really gets to the heart of it. You could have a dark mold that's totally harmless, or you could have a really problematic one that isn't even black. It just goes to show you, judging a mold by its color is probably the biggest mistake a homeowner can make. Beyond all the health concerns, we really need to talk about your property itself. A mold inspection isn't just another bill to pay. It's a critical step in protecting what is probably the biggest financial investment you'll ever make. And that's because moisture, over time, doesn't just grow mold. It literally eats your house from the inside out. I mean, it can cause drywall to crumble, rot the wood framing, and weaken your floors. Finding and fixing those moisture problems early on can stop a small issue from turning into a massive wallet-draining reconstruction project. This is also hugely important if you're ever buying or selling a home. For a buyer, a mold inspection is like an X-ray that can find problems a regular inspection might miss. And for a seller, having a clean report or proof that you had a problem fixed professionally is a huge sign of confidence for buyers and can make the whole sale so much smoother. Okay, so how do you stay ahead of this and prevent problems from even starting? It really just boils down to a few good habits. Try to keep your indoor humidity under control, always. And I mean always use those exhaust fans when you're cooking or showering, and jump on any leaks the second you see them. Seriously, these simple little things are your absolute best defense. And all this really leaves us with one last thought. Being proactive about moisture isn't just about cleaning up old messes. It's about making your home more resilient for whatever comes next. So the real question to ask yourself is, what's your game plan to keep your home healthy and dry when the next challenge rolls in?